What is up? What is going on, everybody? It has been a minute, at least it feels like it. I am back with a Seattle Mariners video. There's not a lot to talk about, but there's enough little things going on that I figured it was a good time to hop on and do a video. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Daniel Kramer article that came out in regards to Ohtani. I'm talking about Brant Brown being added to the Mariners coaching staff. And today is also the deadline for any non-tendered, any player non-tendered, a contract that would become a free agent. The Mariners do have some arbitration eligible players, so I'll talk a little bit about that. Before I dive into it, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit subscribe. Thank you to everybody that's helped get me over 2,500 subscribers. I truly do appreciate that. So thank you to everybody that has done that. Like and subscribe are just two cheap, free ways to help support my channel. So if you can do that for me, I would appreciate, and I appreciate everybody that watches these videos and helps my channel. It all helps support my channel. So I truly appreciate it. So, article came out today from Daniel Kramer. A little bit in regards to, not a little bit, in regards to Shohei Ohtani. I'm just going to pull it up real quick so that I have, everything right here. And Kramer covers the Mariners for MLB.com. Essentially, kind of the headline of the article is the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes has been mostly quiet, and in Seattle, it's reflective of what's taking place behind the scenes. According to industry sources, signing Ohtani doesn't appear to be within the Mariners' realistic agenda this offseason. So just addressing that real quick. Listen, I want Shohei Ohtani to be a Seattle Mariner. I would love it. I think he's the best player in baseball. And my hope was that John Stanton, who doesn't spend a ton, certainly better than some owners, but is been a little, not spending as much in free agency, I guess, for lack of a better term. I thought that maybe Shohei Ohtani was a guy that this team was saving up a little bit for, that Ohtani adds value to the organization beyond baseball. There are very few players in sports that can impact you beyond what they do on the playing field. And it's very few, and it's less than you think. I think you got LeBron James. It's not a team sport, but like Tiger Woods in his prime was in that same category. I don't even know if there is anybody in football. Like, at the end of the day, in all sports, for the most part, you have to be good to sell tickets. You can have the best players in the league, but if you are not good, you will not put butts in the seats. LeBron, Tiger Woods, I know it's not a team sport, but Tiger, and I would put Ohtani in that category, I think are guys that can legitimately put butts in the seats even if you're not on a winning team. So I thought Stanton may be more willing to go in on Ohtani because of that. Now, with all that said, I don't expect or never expected Ohtani to be a Seattle Mariner. I think he's going to be a Dodger. I think he wants to be a Dodger, and I think that's where he will end up. But my hope was the Mariners would try. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. If Ohtani wants to be a Dodger, there's nothing you can do about that. You can't stop him from signing somewhere else. But that the effort would be made to try and get him. Now, with that said, going back to the article, and I'm not ripping on Daniel Kramer for the article. The article's fine. But if you read it's nothing really new. It's just all stuff talking about what we've seen from this organization in the past, what we've seen from this ownership group in the past. So I don't know if we necessarily learn anything new in that article. I think it's stuff we all kind of have thought in the past too, that this team just, hasn't opened up the checkbook too much. They haven't been mentioned a lot as far as the big teams for Ohtani. You've got the Dodgers, the Mets have been mentioned, the Cubs a little bit. And then, of course, Yankees, Red Sox are mentioned with everybody, and the Giants as well. But there wasn't really anything in the article. It wasn't like Stanton and Dipoto in the article said, nope, we're just not going to do it. There's no chance. We're not in on Ohtani. That's not what was said. So listen, I don't think Shohei Ohtani will be a Seattle Mariner. What I'm saying here isn't to defend Stanton necessarily. It's just that I don't think we learn anything new from that article necessarily. I hope the Mariners do try and make an offer. I can respect if they try and Ohtani picks somewhere else. You can't make him choose Seattle. But again, I don't think that article tells us a whole lot that we didn't already know. And Ohtani's a very private guy. In fact, I think there were some rumors that in 17, was that it when he was originally a free agent, that he did get kind of frustrated that some stuff leaked that he may be a Seattle Mariner. So I think in general, it may just be something they're trying to keep a little quiet. I'm not saying they're going for it. They may not, but I don't know if that article necessarily proves they're not going to be involved in this. So I think it's just a wait and see. I do not think Ohtani will be a Mariner, but it still wouldn't shock me if the team was involved a little bit and did throw their hat into the ring. We'll see what ends up happening there. Um, so again, it's more just like there's no quotes from any execs that are like, "Oh, we talked to Jerry and Justin, and they're not going to be involved for Ohtani." There's nothing like that. So it's hard for me to. It's not that I take it seriously. I think it's like I said. I think it's a fair article. It probably is true, but I don't know if there's anything that was mentioned in there that changes what I thought of this before, if that makes sense. That's kind of where I'm at on that. Mariners did make an addition to their coaching staff. Brant Brown, former Marlins and Dodgers hitting coach, will be joining the Seattle Mariners. I think he was a hitting instructor with the Dodgers, will be joining the Mariners staff. He's not coming on as the hitting coach. It sounds like he's actually going to be kind of above the hitting coach, more like maybe the kind of director of hitting or something like that. Someone that's a little bit above the hitting coach. And that makes sense because you probably wouldn't take a lateral move to come to the Mariners. It sounds like it's going to be a promotion. I don't know much on Brant Brown, but I do know in my research before doing the video that it seems to be a very popular move. He's very well respected by all accounts. The Marlins people that I read seemed kind of upset that he was leaving. Dodgers fans have raved about him, and people that are more in the know than I am from the Mariners world seem to be optimistic about him coming on board as well. He was with the Dodgers from 2018 to 2022. Um, he was there when Cody Bellinger won MVP, and then obviously with the Marlins this last year as hitting coach. You saw Luis Ariz have a big year. Jorge Soler took a kind of a step forward and had hit one of his best offensive seasons. So definitely some stuff there that looks interesting. And I'm all for, listen, I don't sometimes, well, not sometimes, but it's hard to say what impact hitting coaches have on a team. Like I don't think Jared DeHart's responsible for Julio being amazing, but I also don't think it's his fault that Colton Wong was terrible. There's only so much you can do. I'm kind of a believer that outside of little things here and there, most of the impact is going to be done at the minor league level. That doesn't mean guys don't take steps forward. JP Crawford's a perfect example of that. So there's definitely things that can be done. I just don't know how much of an impact hitting coaches really, really have um, on a player. But I'm excited about the addition. Maybe it gets a couple free agents to come to Seattle. There's been some rumbles of Jorge Soler coming as a DH. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually not wild on Soler. I mean, if you could get a repeat of 2023 in Seattle, I'm all for it. But you go back through Soler's numbers, and in 2023, he was worth 2 wins above replacement level, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the offensive numbers he put up, it's not world shattering wins above replacement level numbers. And I know he hit pretty well in a pitcher's park last year, but will that translate again to T-Mobile this year? I don't know. Now a lot of the value that hurt Soler was from his defense. Pretty atrocious defender if you look at the metrics. He played about 35, 40 games in right field last year for the Marlins. I don't think, unless it's just in an injury pinch, you could even have him play the field, had to be a full-time DH. And I don't know. I just, you know, the F war might be a little overrated just because he's getting knocked for fielding. But 1.9 last year in his best offensive year, zero point 0.5 the year before, negative 0.3 in 2021. WRC plus of 126 last year, 95 the year before, and 100 the year before that. I'm going to pull up his Savant page really quickly here. I'm not going to pull it up for you guys, but I'll just take a look at it real quick. And I don't remember what it looked like here, so this is kind of on the fly. I mean, it's good. There's a lot of red in Jorge Soler's Savant page, but and that's awesome. But I will say that the strikeouts and whiffs are there. It's very Teoscar Hernandez to me. It is very Teoscar Hernandez, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like Jorge Soler being your DH next year could absolutely work out and be fine. Teoscar Hernandez being your DH next year could work out absolutely fine. But you're getting the same type player. Your strikeouts are going to be there. You're going to whiff. I think Soler's a little bit better at drawing walks than Teoscar was, and his numbers last year were better. But is that the Soler you're getting, or to be a step back? And I'm not convinced Soler is going to get a 1-year deal either. I think he may get a multi-year deal. So I don't know. I'm like with anything, I'm not against it for the right price, but I'm not spending a ton of money on Jorge Soler to be the DH. I'd still prefer Justin Turner. I think the profile is better for what this team wants to do than Soler is, and I think probably a little bit cheaper as well. But I just want to bring up Soler with Brown coming over. I am excited about the hiring. Listen, anytime you can add a guy that's well respected in the league to your coaching staff, I think that is a fair deal. So the non-tender deadline is today. Let me pull that up real quick. There's, I think, 6 players here for the Mariners that, let's see if I can pull it up real quick here, need to be tendered a contract by tonight or that are arbitration eligible or they will become free agents. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. Yeah, the deadline for teams to tender contracts to arbitration eligible players is at 8 p.m. Eastern. Any player non-tendered a contract becomes a free agent, and the Mariners have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players eligible. Ty France, Logan Gilbert, Josh Rojas, Justin Topa, Trent Thornton, Sam Haggerty. Of everybody on that group, the only one that I'm kind of like would be like, maybe not would be Thornton and Haggerty. I think Logan Gilbert's 100% getting a contract. They're not going to let Logan Gilbert become a free agent. I know people are down on Ty France, but I don't think you just let him walk. Um, I think he will be tendered a contract. I'm fine with that. I'm still looking to upgrade if I can. That doesn't mean that I'm just handing Ty France the job, but I also am not just letting him walk for no reason either. I think you need to tender Ty France a contract. I think you do. There is some hope he can bounce back. Maybe if the right trade comes along and you can get something else at first base and someone's willing to give you something for Ty France, or he's a throw into a trade, I'm fine with that. So yes, I do think Ty France should be tendered a contract. Again, I'm not sitting here saying that 100% you're giving Ty France the job with no competition, but I don't think you just have him walk away. Logan Gilbert's easy. Rojas is an interesting one. I don't think it's completely crazy that they wouldn't tender him a contract, but with what he showed in August, September last year, they don't have a lot of depth at second base. I like Ryan Bliss, but again, I'm not just handing Ryan Bliss the job. I think Rojas will be tendered a contract. Topa makes a ton of sense. Thornton's iffy. I wouldn't be against it, but what they might do is not tender him a contract and get him back cheaper. And Haggerty's kind of in that same mold for me. I'm not against any of those guys being back. In fact, I'd be fine if they gave them all a contract. But I think Haggerty and Thornton are the only question marks, in my opinion. Um, Again, Haggerty's interesting. He had a nice September, actually. He's a decent player. There's nothing wrong with a Sam Haggerty. I just don't know. Again, they may look at it like we can non-tender him, maybe bring him back a little bit cheaper. So that's my prediction. I think everybody there except Thornton gets tendered a contract. Haggerty is 50-50. I will say that Haggerty is tendered a contract. I do think they bring him back. Um, so that's about all that I have for the Mariners and their news. I have heard a lot on Twitter. One more guy I want to bring up is Jonathan India has been mentioned a lot in terms of trade deals for the Mariners. Um, it's a second baseman. Mariners need second base help. So it makes sense. The Mariners likely do have the horses to go get India. I am just not very big on Jonathan India. He just hasn't been very good. I'm not against it. Like, if it's a cheap move, if you can trade a mid-level prospect and throw in a Taylor Trammell or something, then fine. I'm not against it. The guy was a top prospect for a reason. There's been promise shown. So I'm not against India being a Mariner. It just, I wouldn't even trade, just to give you guys some perspective on it. I'm all for trading Wu and Miller this offseason if it can help improve the offense. I do not want to trade Logan, Kirby, or Castillo. I don't think you could trade Castillo, but especially Logan and Kirby. But it's got to be for the right move. I do not want Wu traded for India. Even Miller, I'd probably say no. I'd probably say no to that. I'm a little bit more willing to trade Bryce Miller than Brian Wu. It just, you look at Savant and everything like that. Wu's page is much more encouraging than Miller's. There are some great things that India did last year. doesn't strike out at all, draws walks. So his expected his expected weighted on base average was above average. But he doesn't hit the ball very hard. He's not a slugging guy. And listen, that could play into T-Mobile a little bit because, we saw with a guy like Teoscar Hernandez, there's some great things, but when you rely on that slugging, it's hard to succeed in T-Mobile. So India doesn't have to rely on that as much. It may work out, but also, and his defense is not good either. His range is really poor. He doesn't have a strong arm. To me, like, if you took his profile and said he was an elite defender, I might be all over that, actually, to be perfectly honest. But it's a weak glove with a mid bat. And to me, that's just, eh. Like, again, if you, like I said, a mid prospect plus a Taylor Trammell or something for him, sure, I'm not against it, and we'll see what happens there. But as far as like a headline guy like a Wu or Miller, yeah, I would pass on that. So it's just a name I've seen talked about a little bit in the Mariners world, is Jonathan India. So again, like anybody, right? For the right price, sure. I think it's doable, but it's not someone that I'm just dying to go out and get. So that's all I've got for you guys in this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of the Daniel Kramer article. Let me know what you think about Brant Brown coming on. I talked about Jorge Soler and Jonathan India a bit. So that's all I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And as always, go Mariners. I will be on right away if any news drops. If we get anything, if someone farts, I will come on and do a Mariners video about it. So maybe we'll have a video up later tonight about the non-tendered or tendered contract guys. So have a good one, everybody. Go Mariners. Peace.